Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, particularly important if you drive an electric vehicle. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Vlogspot and Bebo. Now, we are joined by Neil and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. How are we all doing? We're all doing great.
Nathan. How are you?
Loving the autumn. Me too, yeah. Summer's over. Leaves are starting to fall. It's all very exciting.
Well, I had to go apple picking yesterday. So that whole Newton thing was coming into my mind. Because there was apples all over the floor.
Hello.
Hey, Arwen. What, apples moving to the centre of mass 1? You're going to need a radius for that, Neil. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius?
No, they run away from that.
They do run away from that, Arwen, that's right. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No, that's exactly what they're running away from. But they can't, because it keeps following them. All that flatness in the distance. No matter where they go, it's all that flatness in the distance.
Yeah, the horizon can't be far away.
Indeed. But it is.
Did I say my kid was dancing around while I was editing that last week? So you're singing Run, Run, Run from R, the horizon can't be far. Obviously it's Row, Row, Row your boat, but my kid picked up on it in the kitchen when I was editing it. She came in and started singing along. It was really funny. Just thought I'd let you know.
Cool.
She's like, who's that singing?
Oh, the next generation.
Well, she got to learn your name as a result. She's like, who's that singing? And I'm like, that's Arwen. Harvain. She's like, Harvain. It's my youngest. Anyway.
Yeah, you told me.
I tell you already. I'm repeating myself. This is not a repeat. This is actually live, I promise.
It's a story I love to hear over and over again, especially when I'm older.
Jolly good. About your Run, Run, Run from the Horizon song.
It would be cool if it kind of caught on, you know? It's not copyrighted.
Well, then you can turn it into a jingle. Get yourself a door. Off you go. The evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety.
You need R for that too.
You are going to need R for that. The R value is required to claim axial rotation. Radian value, you'll need an axis and you'll need a radius. Quick shout out to Jeren of Jerenism channel, who recently did a load of quotes, and in essence they're all talking about the same thing, which is why Earth's stationary, according to heliocentric priests for the most part, and their explanation for how we can't show it's actually moving in any way, shape or form, but that's intolerable. So therefore I assume because it's turning, I can't show it turning. Or something to that effect. But there was loads of them. So yeah, shout out to Sharon. Go and check out that video if you haven't seen it already. Very good stuff.
Was that his upload from last night?
I didn't look at the upload time. It might have been an old video. I have no idea. I just know that there's something that came up in my feed because I've been watching a lot of Jaren recently, so YouTube algorithm says, have more Jaren. And I'm like, yes, please. And I watch it. So I don't know. It might have been an old one.
It was a takeout from another stream.
Yeah, this was definitely a clips video. It said at the beginning clips, and then it was edited the way I do one of my clips. So, you know, a little bit of an intro and then tiny little burst of intro music. Perfect, straight into the action, as it were. So good video. But yeah, it was a clip video. Maybe it is a recent video then. Cool. If it is, Jaron, cool. You're so on form, as per usual.
I'm linking it in chat right now.
Let me give Jaren a shout out. Jaren is ace when he's not next to Bob.
No need for that. You ruined that, Anil.
But it's true. He's a totally different guy.
Any scientific
You're
evidence?
ruining the references.
Somebody shoot him. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Bob should have some.
Time travel.
We covered that. Decay rates. No. Arwin, no. Please don't go here again.
Well, you'd still have to test if beyond decay rate, if there's also an experience alteration, right? But you'd have to move the decay rate differential beyond immeasurably small, right? And then you could test like, hey, is there actually an experience change? Or is it just that decay rate? Because then it might be a unique entropy effect that applies to radioactivity and not to everything, right? That's the thing that they should be testing for next. Is it only that the decay rate of the radioactivity, or is it actually everything? I'm
glad you mentioned it in the way you did, because I've got no criticism of any of that. None of it was described as being time itself, though, a concept. This correlation or parallel that you might draw between decay rates and what they call time, a concept. You didn't draw any of those parallels, so yeah, have at it. Fascinating stuff.
Indeed.
So
No scientific evidence of gravity.
Thank you, Neil.
Not yet.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not yet.
I don't know any.
I don't know if it could be not ever. Alwyn seems to think you might be able to. I say not yet.
Well, they would have to start with gravity, and in order to do that, they would have to figure out that there can be time differentials, and then they can start.
Right, there you go again. Right, so you drop time in. Do you mean time differentials, or do you mean decay rate differentials?
Well, that's the whole thing. Is it just the decay rate differentials, or is it everything else as well? Right? Is it a universal entropy change that is asynchronous? That would be considerably time, especially if it also includes conscious experience, or if it is just that decay rate, right? So it lays on the table.
What causes the decay rate?
Entropy.
So in essence, this is a question in regards to the causal relationship of the changes that we experience with time.
Well, what is time besides a concept?
Right.
Yeah, so a time is kind of a concept based on entropy rate. That's how we determine it. That's how we try to establish time. So if we just go by that...
There's nothing wrong with that. As a convention, it's very useful. Nothing wrong with that. Working outside of the convention is where it starts to fall apart. If you're trying to correlate something that we have assigned the movement of the hands of a clock in a very... hold on, the hands of a clock is the description of how time occurs or elapses, and that's related directly to the celestial movements, and we can't even line up that timing with those movements accurately, which we can't. We're out. We have to make adjustments. Well, that concept, that convention that's been derived to describe those processes, i.e. the movement of the lights in the sky, then translated into a correlative decay rate that can meet a certain standard based on half-life, then you've got a parallel with a convention based on a concept to describe the movement of lights in the sky. Well, how are you going to translate that into the causal relationship when you come to the description of the change over time, something that we're using this convention to describe in the first instance? How are you going to do that? I'll answer because I don't want to waffle. You can't.
Well, when you say it like that, it's all very convoluted. So just say, yeah, sure, why not?
Because you can't figure out the cause of entropy. That's why.
The cause of entropy? No. But it's not a cause of entropy. It's like entropy differential, basically. Like what makes the difference? If there's a difference, then there is an apparent time, or you could think of it as time-based change, because that's how
Right.
we determine time, our experience of it. Yeah, this is all getting very convoluted. It's
Not
not
really.
going to get any
just-
less convoluted.
Our experience of this decay rate is also our own experience of a decay rate that we can only describe from within. Now, we can correlate a decay rate with the movements of the sun, but all of those correlations, what are they for? Well, they're used merely to describe something. That's all they're being used for. So there's a misapprehension that you need to suddenly translate that convention into something that needs scientific inquiry, and there isn't any requirement. It's just a convention. And useful. The problem, as I said earlier, comes when you work outside of the convention and start describing decay rates and their change, with altitude, if you will, as being a change in time itself, which is only a concept used to describe movements of celestial objects. Well, you haven't physically changed the duration of those things that you are describing with the convention of time. When you alter something that you've paralleled with that description, that would be decay rates. It's a nonsense.
I never said it would be easy.
So are you saying that when I change my watch time on my watch, I'm not actually changing time?
No.
Damn it. I thought it was. Good morning, guys.
Good
Morning,
morning.
Chocolate. And Elijah, by the way.
What's up, guys?
Good morning. Good morning. So when there's a time for change, it just can't be a change for time. That's
Ugh. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
10th man isn't here yet.
He's here in spirit.
Yep.
Feel free from Discord. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No, it's over there. Right now. Is it a beautiful, clear day over at your place as well, Nathan?
In
Yep.
America, it's raining in New York. And what is the sun, by the way? Does anybody know?
Don't.
It's light.
What is the world?
That could be a catchy channel name, depending on how it's written. The Adam Meakin, shout out to Adam Meakin, What is the World channel. I'm not even going to attempt, because it's not written down in front of me, to describe to you how it is written. But What is the World is Adam's channel. Feel free to seek it out.
And shout out to the song that he based the name of that channel on, by this dude named Chocolate Saying. He's got a song named What is the World? Shout out to that.
Never heard of him.
Me neither.
You're a white dude.
No, that's his twin, Vanilla Saying.
Oh.
He's over on Globe Earth Dictate. That's not over here.
Oh yeah, Vanilla Saying. And he's like, it looks like a character from, is it Dragon Ball Z? But just a white character, right?
Yeah. It's the same character, but it's just white version.
Oh, he's just taken the exact same character and painted him white.
What? No.
No, that's the
Chocolate Saying
original.
is-
That's the original. That's what
Yeah.
it originally looks like.
The original Goku is not black.
Okay, I don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z, I'm sorry.
By the way, they did an ace
That's
job
right.
with that chocolate. They did a great job with that movie, didn't they?
well,
Neil,
just to
don't-
be clear.
don't make me come find you, Neil. Don't do that.
Oh, what's that?
Hey,
You said
you
it,
Kamehameha your ass, Neil.
was there a terrible Dragon Ball Z movie? Is this what this is referring
Oh,
to?
Yes,
God.
atrocious.
I don't even want a
What
live
movie?
action one that was horrible.
Oh.
It was so
yeah.
dumb. It was so dumb. Like it barely even had anything to do with like the original series or anything.
I wanted to throw up.
Bend your palate with one of the Mortal Kombat movies. That'll sort you out.
That the new Mortal Kombat movies are much more based on the original video games, like in comparison, like much more loyal to the original audience.
Well, that's good to know.
It's very gruesome, though.
Can you put in the Konami code and get a more gruesome ending out of the video?
I
What?
have no idea.
Up, down, left, right. B, select, start.
That's the one. You got it.
By the way, if you're going to shout out movies, you got The Many Saints of Newark, which is a movie spin-off of The Sopranos, which I heard was very good.
Okay. Quick, think of an Italian-American racist joke. Damn, can't get there quick enough.
His son is actually playing the young Tony Soprano.
Should we continue with housekeeping? Fun though this is. Any evidence you can have?
Why not?
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Negative.
Not unless they've changed the fundamentals of gas behavior in the past week that I haven't been here.
And if everybody in the world would comprehend this, everybody would be a flat earther.
Well, everyone at the very least would appreciate that they've been lied to about what the sky is, i.e. space being somewhere you can go, somewhere people have been, and the moon being a rock in that sky vacuum that they think their sky is. Outer space is fake, and an appreciation that the second law of thermodynamics is being violated when they claim that there's an area of vast space that the gas we breathe could be filling. If it was to be falling in line with the second law of thermodynamics, that would be a natural law that dictates how the gas would behave. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill that space. We'd all be dead. Now, people appreciated that. They'd just say, yeah, this idea of travelling out to the sky vacuum space, to these lights in the sky, is preposterous. It's absurd.
It's
Which
weird
will
that
lead to them realizing that Earth is not a spinning water ball.
But it's weird because people can appreciate when you go to the store and you need some propane. You need it comes in a tank. So
Yep.
anytime you need some sort of gas, it comes in a tank. People can appreciate that. I don't understand why they can't just relate that to a broader spectrum of reality. Oh, it's because they've all been indoctrinated with cartoons. That's why, and cool stories.
They just want it to work this way, you know. I find it very tedious these days to even address it anymore, because the ballers just make you go on that railroad. It's like, it's always the same shit. It's like, oh, it's gravity, and then you have to explain why that's not possible, and it always takes up like 15 minutes just because somebody says, "Oh no, gravity," keeps it there.
Well,
It's
I
so
don't do that. I find really, really quick and short ways to tell them that they're out of their mind. Nathan, look at what I found on Google. Somebody posted it as a screenshot one day. It's loading up now. There it is. So somebody posted it as a screenshot one day, and I was like, "Oh my God! Here's another flat earther, a fake flat earther, giving us a bad name by sharing some false information." There's no way in hell they typed that in to Google and it said that. And sure enough, I typed it in, and that's what it said. Now it's a cluster. Uh, it's a the wording is all messed up. But even still, for the normie out there who doesn't understand the difference between a scientific theory and a natural law, reading this is still quite damaging, because what are they going to say?
Hold on. When was this published? So it's the top result that it shows on this Google search related to
Yeah.
ncse.ngo. that where the
Yep.
source has actually come from?
Yes.
National Center for Science Education.
Not a fact, they say.
Want to read this out, Eli?
Yeah, sure. Universal gravity is a theory, not a fact, regarding the natural law of attraction. This material should be approached with an open mind, studied carefully, and critically considered. The universal theory of gravity is often taught in schools as a fact, when in fact, it is not even a good theory.
Okay. I mean, as a
I love
statement,
how they-
I'm surprised that
Whoa!
that's there as a Google research piece
Wait,
of
let me.
information.
So you go into the search, and I'm thinking like they're gonna have some type of caveat. Like, who are these people? Why is it the first search you find? Look, so this is the next part. First of all, no one has measured gravity for every atom and every star. It is simply a religious belief that it is universal. Whoa.
What? Whoa! Have you got a screenshot of that? Sorry, this is
Yes.
nuts. So,
Yeah.
so that they are intentionally now changing or shifting the paradigm. If this is the first search result, then I can't quite. I'm a little bit
Wow.
aghast. I'm a little bit aghast. I mean, just want to pick apart a few issues I've got with it before we move on, though. So when they say universal gravity is a theory, not a fact, well, in terms of science, a theory is going to be based on experimental data, and experimental data is going to be based on cause and effect relationships established in a hypothesis and then validated by systematic experimentation to then go on to be a theory, scientific theory. Now, their use of this word, theory, is colloquial, not scientific theory. They're not referring to it in that regard, but they've still got that in their heading. So it's kind of a bit baffling that they're using this word theory. I know why they're using it. It's because that's what they describe it as in the title. But it's highlighted. So it says universal gravity is, and then highlighted or bold typeface, a theory, comma, not a fact, comma. So that bit's bold type. Well, okay. So why would it be the case that you'd want to draw your attention to people's idea of theory being negative? So it's just a theory is kind of the way they're phrasing. It's just a theory. It's like, well, hold on. If you're talking science, which this description would be in that category for anybody who's on a sphere, this is science. That's what they think is science. So when they say a theory, not a fact, it's like, well, you're actually decrying, because of your banner over the door when you publish this, actual scientific theories that are based on empirically validated data. So interesting that they poison the well of theory by saying it's just a theory. I know they haven't used that word, I'm using it, but it's in bold typeface. A theory, not a fact. So facts aren't theories then. Hold on, scientific theories are based on empirically validated experiments. So why would you highlight that? Anyway, just wanted to get that out of the way. Besides that, they're basically laying out that gravity is something that you need to take careful consideration of. Well, hold on. Things that are just facts, you don't need to take any consideration of. They just are what they are.
Yeah, they're holding
Yeah,
on to
because
that.
if this was if it was a
I'm-
scientific theory, it would this statement would literally say, it's not a fact, it's a fact."
So
It's like
this
that
article
ridiculous.
this article is going so hard that I said this has to be satire or something. Like, there's no way. So I go all the way down to the bottom to the publisher or the person who wrote the article, and it's Ellery Shemp, American physicist, who is known for declaring that required public school sanctioned Bible readings were unconstitutional. So I mean, this guy is every Glober's nightmare. What are they gonna say against? Like,
Oh, I see. So
yo,
you're saying there's no angle in immediately to go, let's see if he's a Christian fundy, because then we can burn him as one. Right?
right. Whoa, this is insane.
Oh,
So,
well, I'm shocked.
Can I read a little more of the article?
You can, but I'll just say, not that I'm saying I told you so or anything, but we have often postulated that we're in the midst of a paradigm shift, and we're questioning why we'd have this information allowed to be out in the public arena, whilst going, look, we're going to censor this. But yet, meanwhile, you do a search for is gravity a theory, and it says it's not even a good theory. It just needs a lot of consideration. You know, like, what?
I love that he calls it a religious. Like, what? Like, you sound like us, bro. A religious belief? Yeah. That's what we say.
Yeah. Mad, isn't it?
Oh, he's going ham. I don't even know how.
Crazy.
Just Nathan, just stop me when you're like, enough is enough. Because look, okay, so, and it goes on to say, secondly, school textbooks routinely make false statements. For example, the moon goes around the earth. If the theory of gravity were true, it would show that the sun's gravitational force on the moon is much stronger than the earth's gravitational force on the moon. So the moon would go around the sun. Anybody can look up at night and see the obvious gaps in gravity theory. The existence of tides is often taken as a proof of gravity, but this is logically flawed. Because if the moon's gravity were responsible for a bulge underneath it, then how can anyone explain a high tide on the opposite side of the earth at the same time?
Wow.
Anyone can observe that there are two, not one, high tides every day. It is far more likely that tides were given us by an intelligent creator long ago, and they have been with us ever since. In any case, the fact that there are two high tides falsifies gravity.
This guy's going
What the
somewhere.
hell? This is the top result. I still can't quite believe it. I mean, as much as I like to say we're describing a paradigm shift and questioning why it's out there, when we actually see things swinging the other way, in other words, they're not introducing CGI renderings of Earth curve edge horizons in Google with altitude and perspective views factored in when the model and the maths doesn't. None of those sort of anti-flat Earth kind of changes, but changes like this, where you see a top result that basically backs everything we say about gravity. Not only that, goes on to decry it as being a religious fundy belief. You're like, oh my god, this is somebody teaching this in a university, and they've got the top result on Google. What gives? Shouldn't you be publishing the top anti-flat Earth result and telling us that pseudo-Riemannian 4 space is definitely divisible into your standard 3 space? You know, or whatever their crap explanation is for keeping hold of 106-year out-of-date rhetoric and intertwining it with pseudo 4 space Einstein. None of that. Just decry the thing as being the nonsense that it is. Yeah, okay. It does kind of make sense, but it's still a little bit shocking.
Well, maybe, if I may, maybe he just looked at what was actually out there and how bad it was going to get, and he just said, I don't want to end up in that pit of crap.
Well, somebody should have told him, you know, when you gave it your critical thought, you should have thought about it as a force. Why didn't you think of it as a force when you were giving it critical thought? Think of it as a force next time.
So look, yo, for every paragraph that I read, I'm like, no way. So look, there are numerous other flaws. For example, astronomers who seem to have a fetish for gravity tell us that the moon rotates on its axis, but at the same time, it always presents the same face to the Earth. This is patently absurd. Moreover, if gravity were working on the early Earth, then Earth would have been bombarded out of existence by falling asteroids, meteors, comets, and other space junk. Furthermore, gravity theory suggests that the planets have been moving in orderly orbits for millions and millions of years, which wholly contradicts the second law of thermodynamics. Since everything in the universe tends to disorder according to the second law, orderly orbits are impossible. This cannot be resolved by pointing to the huge outpouring of energy from the sun. In fact, it is known that the flux of photons from the sun and the solar wind actually tend to push Earth away. Now, I don't know about all that, but still, I mean, what?
Yeah, I don't. What?
Still.
Serious? And you're saying this was the top search. What did you search for?
Yeah,
Is
grab the
gravity
article.
a theory?
Yeah, I noticed you put a link
Wow.
for the article in Master B or whatever it was. Perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a look at it. I'm slightly aghast. But yeah, I mean, why not? That's what we've been saying.
Sure.
Why not? You know, the fact that they're not bracing against it in this instance, Well, yeah, because everything that's said is the same as what we say because it's absolutely true. There is no force of gravity, this 106-year out-of-date mass-attracting mass idea, or bending pseudo-Harmonian conceptual space-time is all a load of hogwash. Now, we say it till we're blue in the face, but whilst being met by anti-flat Earth resistance. Well, that's not to say that the normies out there are even aware, and in this instance, this dude isn't necessarily aware that there's even a battlefront. He just looks at it and goes, yeah, this is nonsense. I'll just say that. Why not?
Yeah, because for him to say, just the most simplest example we used, like, if gravity was a thing, then of course, because the sun's gravitational force would be so much more than the moon. How could the moon ever orbit the Earth in that way if what they call gravity is what it is? And he just points it out like all nonchalant, like, hey, that doesn't make any sense.
Now this
Like,
is so
what?
much. This is so much more juicy because as you read, it seems that he's still into the whole Earth being a globe thing. It's just he has other theories.
Sure.
Well, other alternative explanations that are basically not based in any evidence.
Oh, don't get me
But,
wrong, came through loud and clear when he's talking about solar winds and orbits. He's obviously got the heliocentric begging the question fallacy firmly rooted in his psyche when he's decrying some of these gravitational out-of-date descriptions and nonsensical conceptual dimensions. So, yeah, fine. You can still have your heliocentric rhetoric and not see the flaws in gravity.
Right.
That's reasonable and should be what anybody's doing. And this person's encouraging their audience at large to do the same. Take it with a pinch of salt, reading between the lines, exercise critical thought. I've forgotten what the words they used, or he used, or she used. But ultimately, they're saying, just look at it and consider it and, take it with a grain of salt. Don't just accept it. Contrary to what you get told by people like George Musa. Well, no, gravity's not a force, but you can think of it as a force. Whoa, cowboy. Think of it as a force. Why would I want to think of it as a force? It either forces stuff or it doesn't. I don't need to think of it as anything. If it's forcing stuff, it's forcing it. We done with this
So the
chocolate,
beautiful
Eli?
thing-
Is there any more on this, Eli?
I want for everyone to be able to go to it on their own. Like we've already unpacked like some of the. It just keeps getting juicier. That's why I'm like, you know what? This is fair. This is fair because it's not a flat earther. It is a physicist. And he's basically saying gravity as we know it is obviously BS. I don't know how much more fair we can be to the globe earther.
Right, somebody who's still maintaining their heliocentric paradigm is decrying the same way we decry gravity. Just we don't have the assumption of orbits and solar winds and all sorts of other nonsense.
It's a start.
I'll tell you this:
yeah.
he's talking about positive charges and negative charges. We already know. We know. It sounds eerily similar. You want to lump yourself in with that bunch? Go ahead.
Well, they got to replace one teddy bear with another, right? They don't feel comfy without their little blankets, so they need that replacement.
Any
so
evidence?
They start working it out in their brains. Sorry. Okay.
Right. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
That question gets funnier the longer we keep asking it.
You all still here in Discord?
I was just going to say, Discord, nobody got a core? What's going on?
Any
Rovers?
evidence of the R value, Earth radius? Oh, that's the last housekeeping question. Good stuff. So in the pre-show, we were discussing pretty much along these lines of the last thing we were discussing, which is the information and how it should potentially, or whether or not you care, be disseminated to the masses. Now, my view is that it wouldn't make any difference if it was disseminated to the masses that the Earth is flat. It would be for the reasons of control. So, what difference does it make if they sell you the religious notion of being on a sphere, or let's just pigeonhole it into the exact controlled-up narrative, a idea that we've got a pancake flying up at 9.8 meters per second through space instead of a ball. In other words, if the entirety of the Western world thought that we were on a pancake flying up through space, it's like, would we be happy? It's like, yeah, but they all know it's flat now. Yeah, but they all still adhere to the notion of gravity, and they still adhere to the idea that we've got a sky vacuum and all of this other crap. They've just explained their way around that with new nonsense on a flat piece of pie. So if it's coming from the man on the telly that the Earth is flat, it won't be to our advantage. So you have to sort of start to consider, well, what is our advantage, if you want to call it that? Well, me personally, it's an opening of my eyes to many other things that I may have considered as true. Was that John? Go ahead, John. John Thomas?
Oh, hey guys.
Hello.
Hey, this is the first time I just joined Discord, so you can hear me okay so far?
Very well.
All right. Hey, I've been listening to you guys for a long time. Awesome. I've got a couple questions. I want you to verify the seasons. Has anybody looked at how the seasons are explained with the 23.5-degree tilt? Has anybody looked into that?
Sure. I've got a pretty good understanding of how the heliocentric model explains seasons. What's your question?
Okay, well, I actually put together like a model, I guess. I got a tripod, and then I got like a lazy Susan, so I could spin 100, 180 or 360 degrees. And I used the tripod so I could tilt it, and I got a tool so I could tell when I was at 23.5 degrees and then 90, right? Well, I strapped the camera on this, platform, and it seems like the seasons, if I'm understanding the way they're explaining it, which I mean like NASA or whoever, these textbooks, the sun would come up from the bottom, and high noon would work for the winter solstice. But when I put the camera and tilted it for the summer solstice, high noon would be the sun would be at the bottom. And all these objects, when you're rotating one time per day with a tilt at 23.5 degrees forward, all the objects, the stars, the sun, they come in from the top. And I just want somebody to verify what I observed.
Okay. I mean, to do that, you'd have to have somebody actually show you a heliocentric functioning model. Now, while I have seen that once from somebody.
They're showing the sun is always at this elliptical plane. Is that true? Is that what you see?
Not what I see, but that's what they describe.
Yeah, and you got this terminator line for light and dark. And like I said, when I just want somebody, it would make a good video. I don't have the to make it. You guys make pretty good videos, but it'd be a good video to show, hey, this is what you're actually going to see on at 90. It works, right? Because I mean that's the equinox. But the summer solstice, when you tilt forward and rotate once a day, the sun's going to come in from the top, and high noon would actually dip down to the lowest point. That's what I observed.
Fair enough. I mean, when I've seen it modelled, it does work reasonably well. There are very few things you can catch the heliocentric model out on in terms of how it functions with the sky, as far as I can ascertain. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't want to cue people to show me anomalies that are incongruent with the heliocentric model, but I don't think what you're describing is one of them. Now, I don't want to poo-poo your modelling ability of the heliocentric system, but to the best of my understanding, that isn't something that's come up as an anomaly. That's not to say that you're not right. You might be, and you might have noticed it. The one thing I will agree with you on completely is the Terminator line thing. Yeah, that's absurd. When you've got a physical geometric sphere for a horizon obscuring your view, that is going to give you a limitation at a certain point in time when the sun is obscured from the view of the land by the physical geometric sphere edge horizon. It's a geometric limitation to that light passing on to the land. So you'd have a Terminator line, a line that moves across the land as the physical geometric sphere edge horizon blocks the view of the light for the land. Now we don't have that. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Well, it was just more evidence, because I've done my I live 50 miles south of Lake Erie, in Ohio. Okay, so I went up to Lake Erie and I could see further than what they're calculating. So that, I mean, this, just looking at the seasons, it was just more evidence for me that what they're telling us is not true. So I just want to try to get some verification for how I'm understanding their model.
Sure. Their model, like in that instance, when you describe the Terminator, the reason I picked that is because it focuses on something that we can actually sink our teeth into to debunk, which would be the assertion that we've got an Earth curve edge horizon. We haven't. We've debunked it. They can't get an R value as a result, so they can't assert Earth's a sphere to postulate that model in the first instance. So it's refreshing to hear you getting into the begging the question model to have a look at how it works and pulling it apart. It is refreshing. It reminds me of the enthusiasm I had in that regard when I first realised that space was fake and Earth was flat. Suddenly you start poking around in the model, and I remember Mark Knight once describing this process that you're now going through as being a papier-mâché Earth curve, Earth ball, and you're holding it, or you walk up to it, it's on a pedestal, and it looks really solid. But then as you get close, you start poking it, and you realise that it's paper thin, and your finger goes straight through. Not only that, when you have a look through the hole in the papier-mâché you just poked, you see someone else on the other side having a look through at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then if you keep, I'm going to add to this analogy now. So if you keep having a look around in the papier-mâché, right, as you're looking into this hole, this ball that's very flimsy and being ever more poked by people, you see people who are ushering people away from the holes, trying to put tape over them, go, get away from these holes, shut up. There are opponents.
Another thing I wanted to talk with you guys about is the rotation. As I understand that there is no scientific evidence that we are rotating, right?
There's no demonstrable effect to observe, no.
Would it be scientific?
I don't understand once you explain to people that, okay, if airplanes east to west, and I know you've used that example before, Nathan. I don't know how that doesn't wake you up. That flight times would be significantly different.
Depends on the person. If they're in this arena, then they've got to be subjected to people telling them that their debunking isn't a debunking because the thing that's being debunked wouldn't be expected to be seen, which normally leaves people in confusion if they try and, I don't know, attempt to research their research. Now, at that point, that person's demonstrated that they're capable of, and indeed inclined, to go out and research and look at it. Therefore, they're not just going to scratch the surface at that point. They've already scratched beyond it, and therefore, scratching beyond it means you're left with all the other crap that surrounds it, which is to say, why would you, the guy researching, expect to see drift under an aeroplane? And you go, I don't know, why would I expect it? And suddenly you're asking yourself the question, why am I expecting to see drift? Forgetting the fact that the globe, not you, claims there is drift. So that leaves people confused when they're questioning their own claim of drift when they haven't got one. The globe claims it. It just doesn't happen.
Okay, now check this out. I had a debate with oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, chocolate.
No, yeah, you go ahead. Good, you go.
Well, I wanted to talk about this fly argument that you'll hear from the fundies, where they'll go, well, what about if you're going down the road and the fly is in a car and it's not, it's hanging out with you as you're going down the road. And my comeback to that is, what if that fly held an XYZ position to the ground underneath it? Wouldn't it smash up against the window?
Well, that's you arguing that there should... Hold on. See, there you fell into the trap. You're now arguing that we should see drift in the fly when it's a globe claim that we should see drift in footballs and aeroplanes and hot air balloons and helicopters. The globe claims this. So if you're into this argument, you're into an anti-flat earther telling you that if a fly moves in a sealed car, you won't see it doing anything unusual because it's moving with the car. So we won't see anything unusual on Earth because it's all moving with Earth. So we're not going to see anything unusual then. So what's supposed to be proving we spin? Because there's nothing unusual to see, according to that person at that point. Now, if you don't catch that and say, so you're saying, comparatively, a hot air balloon going up into the air is like a fly in a car. It won't do anything. We won't notice anything. So how the hell do we prove we're spinning then? Would be the next question if you realise that you've fallen into a trap where you're starting to explain to a globe believer how we should have drift when it's not your claim. You just have to ask them, oh, so the fly moves with the car that's all sealed up. So Earth is all sealed up like a car, and we're not going to see the globe's claim of Coriolis drift at 15 degrees now then. So Neil deGrasse Tyson was wrong when he said the ball drifted through the goal because Earth turned beneath it. He was wrong. It's more like a fly moving in a sealed car. So we're in a sealed Earth with a nice big seal around it all, for this example to make sense, for you to go against the globe claim that we'll see drift from the ground as we turn beneath stuff. Wow, this is a strange position for you to take. You're debunking the globe claim of drift then. No effect to see like a fly in a car. No drift at 15 degrees now to prove we're spinning then, Mr. I'm going to tell you, the flat earther, about how we shouldn't have drift that's claimed by the globe. So you've got no involvement in this argument by the sounds of things. It's the person you're arguing with telling you the globe claim's wrong. No drift to see, like a fly in a car.
Well, like that clip that Sideman Dan showed, right? With them pulling the wagon with the tractor, and they're jumping on a trampoline. Yeah, they have some momentum, but if they held an XYZ position in the air, they would not come back down on the same spot that they landed.
And that's the globe claim.
You're falling for it again.
Yeah, you're falling for it again. That's the globe claim. So you're describing to me how we should see drift. But that's not your claim.
The reason why... I know. I'm trying to come up how you would hold, like a helicopter. How would you prove that this helicopter is not going with the conservation of momentum and it's holding
Stop. So what you're saying is how do you prove that it's not moving with an assumption that the Earth's moving and there's no effect to see? Number one, that's not a globe claim. That's an anti-flat Earth claim. Number two, it's not your burden to prove a non-effect as an effect. So nothing to see. How can you explain why there's nothing to see? There's nothing to see. And number three, it's not your claim. You don't need to show how it won't be the case that when they assume Earth is turning and then assume that it's conserving the momentum of the Earth they assumed was turning, therefore no effect to see. That's begging the question.
Yeah.
See, they want you to go there with them.
They want you to argue about how you would expect to see drift when it's actually the globe that claims that we'll see drift. But if they can reverse that to you saying that it should be drift, they can argue against it. Now, arguing against it is far easier because they're arguing for how we won't see the effect the globe claims we will see. So they're arguing with you while you spend your time telling them how we should see drift, something you've never claimed as a flat earther.
Well, I did use that argument with
why you would expect to see
fundamentalist, and he's a math wizard, right? So he thinks because he gets the right answers, just like the theory of gravity, he's right. But when I said, if that fly would hold a position to the ground as that car was moving, it would smash up against the window, and it did kind of make him go, "Oh, yeah." But I understand your point where, like, yeah, you're kind of arguing with their claim. So,
You gotta watch out, man. They are sneaky. All they have left in this argument are tactics. So, like when you were talking before about how they put you in a car, well, that's automatically a fallacy from jump, because we're not talking about a car, are we? We're talking about Earth. Earth is not a sealed container, right? So it's a false equivalence from jump. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do to get you to argue, and then they'll go down and then reverse the burden of proof, make you prove why we don't see something that their claim is we're supposed to see. And then you're wasting all your time talking to them about that crap when it's their claim to prove. You don't prove the negative or the non-existence of something. It's their claim to prove it.
Right, we haven't helped him out though, Chocolate, yet. We haven't given him any help in terms of how to resolve this problem. The way to resolve this problem is to ask them to define the globe claim. And the globe claim is Coriolis effect. So, to summarise, the globe claims we, that's us with our eyeballs, will experience things in an inertial reference frame that would be not attached to Earth, drifting from our vantage point. That would be the effect of us turning beneath something and it seeming to drift away, not because it's flying away from you, but because Earth is turning beneath it. This is exampled by a roundabout, with you spinning on it and someone throwing a ball over the top of it. If you look at the ball as you turn beneath it, it looks like it takes a curved path. That's Coriolis effect. Earth is claimed to have that effect. That is the globe claim. Globe claims we will experience drift as we turn beneath things. Now, if you can get them to define what Coriolis effect is, because that's what the globe claim is, you can then tie them to the globe claim that we're gonna be turning beneath things. Ergo, if I'm turning beneath a hot air balloon, I'm watching that balloon drift away from my vantage point because I'm on a turning Earth, turning beneath it. Likewise, if I release a helium balloon from a roundabout, I look up and watch it corkscrew away from me because I'm turning beneath it on a roundabout. It's a fact. The effect would happen if you're turning beneath. There is no letting go of the helium balloon on the roundabout and it not seeming to corkscrew and following the trajectory of the roundabout beneath it as you've let go of it. It's no longer being held by you spinning on the roundabout, so it just goes up. But you watch it seem to curve and corkscrew up because you're turning beneath it. That is the effect that would happen and is claimed to happen on a turning Earth. Coriolis effect. So once you establish that we're claimed to be turning underneath stuff then, so I'm turning beneath an aeroplane, that would shorten its flight time. That would mean that a hot air balloon went up in the air and Earth turned beneath it for me to see it drifting, which means Earth's turning beneath hot air balloons, as per the claim of Coriolis from the globe. So, to progress the argument with the fundy that's asking you to justify drift when you're not claiming it, get them to define the globe's claim of Coriolis. What is Coriolis? The drift observed from a non-inertial turning reference frame in the inertial reference frame. That's what Coriolis is. If they can define it, then you've got two reference frames and one is moving beneath the other. Meaning they're moving apart from each other? Not, why would you expect to see drift? It's like a bloody fly in a car. Oh, right, so not moving apart 15 degrees an hour then, as per the globe claim of Coriolis. Because that's deviation, drifting apart. 15 degrees an hour is the rate they claim it. Well, if stuff isn't drifting apart at 15 degrees an hour, there isn't Coriolis effect. There isn't Coriolis effect because if there was, it would be shortening flight times and hot air balloons would have different continents coming towards them. They don't. Because they don't, they have to reposition the argument to get you to be the one claiming that there should be drift. And they say, as Chocolate said earlier, why would you, the flat earther, expect to see drift? Because the globe claims we will? We just don't. End of argument.
It's a religion. It's amazing. I mean, I woke up to this when I started seeing watching Jeranism, and they showed the Chicago, the skyline, and it's like you start looking at this stuff and how far you should be able to see. I don't understand how people just keep. Well, there again, it's a religion, and I'm glad you guys. I am so thankful because I don't have anybody to talk to. I'm like, I try to talk with people a little bit, and they kind of look at me, like I got three eyes. Who cares? And it's nice to be able to relate. I listen to you guys. I've been listening to this Bob guy. Okay, I have my pilot's license also, and that's another thing. I can only relate it to you, but unless you do it. But another proof to me that we're not on a ball is when you fly, not only would you have to adjust your elevator to adjust for the horizon, the curved horizon, you would have to constantly be adjusting your thrust. You'd probably be taking away because you're always going to be pushing down. But that's just a little side note. But I've been listening to the chord. You Nathan, you put on a video about Bob, the chord, and he doesn't. When you guys said, "Well, where's the R?" That to me, right there, light bulbs go off. It's like exactly. You guys do not have a radius with this chord. I mean, I would never thought of that, But you guys been doing this. Where you've got some good math guys. I think what's his name, Adam.
Adam, I was going to give him credit if you didn't. Yeah, that's Adam. But that's all Adam. I shut him down when I was doing that because he spotted it immediately as his bit, and he's given it me.
Yeah.
Because I've led him into the trap. I'm like, shut up, Adam. How dare you take my thunder? It's like, it's not mine. It's Adam's thunder to take. But yeah, we have got some good math guys, and Adam's definitely, up there.
Yep. And I like hearing the math too. I like seeing you guys break it down. The Sexton deal, that is a brilliant one. I think about 10th Man, he come on, he started studying that. I've been listening. I'm like, wow. You guys just keep adding more evidence. So keep up the good work. I'm going to go ahead and just go back to listening. I appreciate you guys.
Nice having you. Is here actually. Hey, Adam.
Appreciate you too, brother.
Not there. I say he's here. He's here in spirit. He's not coming off mute to say hello, that's for sure.
So can I go back to this non-Coriolis?
And you've got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
The non-Coriolis effect.
All right, so the hot air, I brought up the hot air balloon, right? So I'm just doing some quick Googles, that's all. So it talks about, oh crap, where'd it go?
20 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds. Where is it? Oh no. Sir Richard Branson and Per Lindström crossed the Pacific Ocean from Japan to Arctic Canada at the furthest distance, 6,700 miles. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's in the total opposite direction of Earth's supposed spin.
Found out in the after show. So with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. I say once again, stay tuned if you're watching on a premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!